Now, here's Obama on the Tonight Show Tuesday night, and Leno said, you mentioned infrastructure. Why is infrastructure a partisan issue? I live in a town, the bridge is falling apart, isn't safe. How does that become Republican or Democrat? Why don't you just go fix the bridge?
I don't know. As you know, for the last 3 years, I've said, let's work together, let's find a financing mechanism, and let's go ahead and fix our bridges, fix our roads, sewer systems, our ports. You know, Panama Canal is being widened so that these big super tankers can come in. Now, that'll be finished in 2015. If we don't deepen our ports all along the Gulf, places like Charleston, South Carolina, or Savannah, Georgia, or Jacksonville, Florida, if we don't do that, those ships are going to go someplace else, and we'll lose jobs. Businesses won't locate here. So this is something that traditionally has been bipartisan. I mean, it used to be Republicans and Democrats, they love cutting those ribbons.
All right, let me take a stab at this because I can answer this easily. Now, of course, the gaffe there is Obama saying, look, we have to deepen our ports all along the Gulf. Places like Charleston, South Carolina, which is on the Atlantic Ocean. Savannah, Georgia, on the Atlantic Ocean. Jacksonville, Florida, on the Atlantic Ocean. None of these are in the Gulf. Now, you remember what grief Sarah Palin got when she said she could see Russia from her house. You remember that? And you remember how that, among maybe at the top of the list, that statement from Sarah Palin was the primary means by which the media set out to destroy her. Her intelligence, her credibility, and here is Barack Obama, not knowing what he's talking about, sounding so sure of himself. And it's, in fact, the AP has written about this and doesn't even mention the gaffe. They are whitewashing it. They have written a story that essentially praises Obama's brilliance for understanding that we need to deepen the ports. They don't even touch on the gaffe. This kind of stuff genuinely really ticks me off. But let's go back to Leno's question. Why is fixing a bridge a partisan issue? Why does it have to be Republican or Democrat? Why don't you just go fix the bridge? Do you know that question? Leno, in that question, encapsulates the low information voter and the way they think. They cannot possibly see the partisanship in infrastructure. They haven't the slightest clue. It doesn't make sense to them when you explain it. They just don't understand. Why would there be any disagreement? You got a bridge that fell, just fix the thing. Where is the partisanship, he wants to know? And I guarantee you that question reflects the attitude of a lot of people. And, of course, Obama answered, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm the guy I'm not partisan at all. I'm the one who's been trying to get everybody to work together on this infrastructure. Well, let's examine how he did that. He lied to this country when establishing this I don't know what you call this presidency. Anyway, this stimulus was designed to fix all of these bridges. And Obama's out there trying to make everybody think that their bridge is going to fall down, or pretty much every bridge is in trouble. And we're going to build schools, and we're going to rebuild roads and all this. And not one penny of that stimulus went to any of it. So the way this becomes a partisan issue, Obama makes the case for the stimulus to rebuild crumbling infrastructure and gives the money to the unions in a money laundering scheme. Teachers' unions and public sector workers' unions got 75% of the stimulus. We've been through all of this with the details and the dollar amount. As a result, nothing got fixed. Not one bridge, not one school, not one road, and very few infrastructure jobs were created in order for this work to take place. And Obama then turns there and says it blames the Republicans for it somehow. And that becomes partisan. Where what we really have here is lying. What we really have here is misrepresentation and disingenuousness. What we have is a president going on television over and over again saying we need a stimulus to get the economy going, to come out of a recession, and we're going to get this money, and we're going to spend it on people building roads and bridges and fixing them and all that. And then that doesn't happen. The Republicans don't have the votes to stop anything. The first 2 years, Obama owns the House, owns the Senate, owns the White House. It's one-party government. Republicans can't stop anything. And yet the bridge doesn't get fixed. Obama's the president. Limbaugh theorem. Leno says, why don't you just fix the bridge? What the hell's partisan? Well, the question, Mr. President, why didn't you spend money on repairing bridges like you said and creating jobs instead of giving it to unions? The question will never be asked, because I doubt that Leno knows that that's what happened. I'd venture to say that the percentage of people outside this audience and some of the alternative media program don't know. They think the stimulus was spent on creating jobs. For some reason, the Republicans still made sure the rich got all the money. That's why it is constantly so frustrating. Anyway, the gaffe portion of this, AP writes about it and praises Obama for knowing and saying and warning that we have to deepen our ports in the Gulf if we're to maintain our nation as a port economy. I'll tell you, the degree to which the people of this country are being dumbed down on purpose every day is striking. And all for the express purpose of maintaining in power a political party which seeks a permanent underclass and as many dependent people on government as possible, as many uninformed, misinformed, know-nothings as they can get. Brief timeout. We'll get to your calls when we get back, folks. Don't go away. By the way, folks, just to remind you, Sarah Palin never, ever said that she could see Russia from her house. Tina Fey said it on Saturday Night Live, impersonating Palin, and it became popularly assumed by people that Palin actually said it. She never said it. And yet, Tina Fey impersonating Palin, saying that she could see Russia from her house, became one of the primary reasons for Republicans to run around and say, well, this woman's not smart enough. We can't. This woman is an embarrassment. We can't have this woman in our party running for president. What is that? Absolute embarrassment. Everybody, Republicans, Democrats, everybody bought it. It's embarrassing. The closest Palin ever came to saying anything like this was you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska, which is true. You can. You can see Russia from certain parts of Alaska. But she never said you can see it from her house. And she never said that it qualified her in foreign policy, which was part of the Tina Fey joke. Here we have a legitimate statement of gaffe proportions. And by the way, there were 3 or 4 of them on Leno, and they're unremarked upon. The AP actually, in their effort to whitewash Obama's gaffe, the AP actually added words to their report to cover for the guy. The AP printed, quote, if we don't deepen our ports along the Gulf, and in places like, they added the words and in. And they put them in parentheses, which means it's not a direct quote, it's an assumed, but Obama didn't say and in. He said our ports along the Gulf in places like, they added the word and, changed the whole thing. Whitewash, cover up. Tina Fey got an Emmy. I remember the last time, and there have been many of these years, the last time I was one of top 10 most fascinating Americans by Barbara Walters on that show she does every December, Tina Fey. Tina Fey was on that show, in that list of top 10 most fascinating Americans, I think it's called, because of her Sarah Palin impersonation. Sarah Palin wasn't on the list. Sarah Palin wasn't one of the top 10. Tina Fey impersonating Palin was. So eager and so desirous was the media to ridicule Palin out of a political existence that they went to the most ridiculous lengths necessary. And the sad thing is that the low information population just sucked it up like a newborn baby. Just ate it all, didn't question it, just believed every aspect of it. Obama on Leno. The odds of people dying in a terrorist attack are still a lot lower than in a car accident, unfortunately. He did say, I double-checked this. The odds of people dying in a terrorist attack are still a lot lower than in a car accident, unfortunately. Well, obviously he's trying to say, it's terrorism, not that big a deal. More people die in car crashes, unfortunately. I mean, he was trying to express solidarity with families of lost people in car crashes by acknowledging how terrible that is. It's still terrible, very terrible, but not nearly as much as terrorism. It's not nearly that bad. But just infantile. In another gaffe, Obama said that Vladimir Putin, used to head the KGB. Putin did not head the KGB, never had. Putin was a mid-level nobody there. Putin was one of these guys in the KGB he's a climber. He was forever hoping, climbing that ladder, trying to get to the head spot, but he never got there. He was a nobody. But now he's running the whole show as he wanted to when he was a nobody at the KGB. Nobody ever leaves the KGB, by the way. Once you're there, no matter what you say you've done next, nobody ever leaves the KGB. I don't know if Obama was trying to pay him a compliment or not. But here, let's grab soundbite 4. We got a little miniature list here, a little montage of Obama gaps. And none of these are reported on, none of these are commented on, none of these are analyzed, none of these reflect negatively in any way on Obama, as any of these by themselves or together uttered by a Republican would destroy the guy.
I've now been in 57 states. You send a kid to the emergency room for a treatable illness like asthma. They end up taking up a hospital bed. You gave them treatment early, and they got some treatment and a breathalyzer or an inhalator.
What? I don't know what the term is in Austrian. Navy Corpsman Christian Bouchard. Corpsman Bouchard. Corpsman Bouchard.
On this Memorial Day, as our nation honors its unbroken line of fallen heroes, and I see many of them in the audience here today.
Corpsman? But that last one, that was Memorial Day 2008. This Memorial Day, as our nation honors its unbroken line of fallen heroes. That means killed in action. I see many of them in the audience here today. He looked out and he saw the dead. Which, of course, he didn't. And in each one of these, if the media was inclined to talk about it, it was, you know he didn't mean that. You know he didn't mean, come on. You know he knows Biden's wife's name. What are you talking about? Well, one of the things I'm talking about is I have not drank the Kool-Aid. I do not believe that Obama is smarter than anybody else. I do not believe he has cut a new path as a politician unlike any we've ever seen in his intellect. I don't believe any of this hocus. Just like I didn't believe it when they said it about Hillary, smartest woman in the world. Quick time out. We'll be back. Much more straight ahead. There are, folks, the healthcare stack today. I mean, it's an absolute disaster, right on schedule.